You ready to bounce around the NFL? Because
let's do it.
Few things that happened yesterday. First of all, look, all jokes aside, congratulations to Antonio Pierce, who has shown up and gotten the Raiders to play a better brand of football that is a happier, more connected, if I can borrow from Steve Kerr's lexicon of sports sayings. The Raiders are better with him than they were with Josh McDaniel. I don't think it's even questionable. You can see that team is lighter on its feet. It's happier. It's bouncier. Now they've swept the New Yorks, which is no great shakes. Neither one of those teams should be allowed on television for the remainder of this season. But all I could help but think of is, as the Raiders were getting into the win column, was watch this team close this year in a somewhat impressive fashion. And Mark Davis is going to go ahead and replace Antonio Pierce with like Bill Belichick if he gets let go or some bad idea. Like I think the Raiders might have.
I don't know if they call that a bad idea. Hiring Bill Belichick is now a bad idea.
No, I don't know if that's a bad idea, but look, if you got a young team that is responding to a young coach who is feeling good about being here, it would be just like the Raiders to find a little success and then move off it for like John Gruden's son who, takes Muay Thai or something like that.
Did you watch the game though yesterday? Because I bet the Raiders last night, and I saw the Jets the week before, and I'm like, there's no way the Raiders are losing to that team. But the Raiders the last night. I mean, those two teams said offensive football back decades.
Yeah, they weren't. It wasn't good.
It was bad. Aiden O'Connell was 16 of 27 for 153 yards. He was sacked 3 times. The Raiders ran it with Jacobs 27 times.
Yeah, Jacobs won the game.
But I mean, the Raiders there were so many negative plays. They can't figure out a way to utilize Davante Adams. They actually have really great weapons. I mean, Josh Jacobs, Davante Adams, Michael Mayer, the rookie tight end, Jacoby Myers is having a nice year. They've got some weapons. Hunter Renfrow, Austin Hooper, Garrett Wilson was sure good for the Jets last night. But the Raiders there's such inconsistency.
Dude, and look,
fumbled 3 times. I mean, they fumbled 3 times.
Zach Wilson. Robert Saleh needs to stop dyeing that stupid beard of his and get someone other than Zach Wilson to play quarterback. Like, that guy's non-functional. He is unfunctional.
He was their leading rusher and he was their quarterback and their leading rusher. I mean, he wasn't good. I mean, no. He just doesn't instill confidence. I mean, this is why, what Purdy's doing is spectacular, is that it's difficult to play quarterback in the NFL as a young player. There are growing pains, and Wilson's going through them. He was 23 of 39 for 263. He makes some amazing plays. He showed some mobility in this game, which is, really good. I mean, I think that's I think he's going to improve over time, but man, I mean, it's just, they don't have a whole lot. I mean, Breece Hall ran for 28 yards. Their defense is really, really good, but
is what it really is. The offensive line has gotten Aaron Rodgers hurt. They can't do anything. The Cowboys, Larry, are back in the picture, I guess, a little bit in terms of NFC quality, because they outgained the New York Giants, who are really just dreadful.
They own them.
They outgained the Giants by 468 yards. It's the biggest yardage difference in an NFL game in 44 years. So that was
Giants were playing Tommy DeVito at quarterback. I mean, he threw for 86 yards. He was sacked 5 times.
Yeah, there's nothing to even talk about there. Kyler Murray, he wins his first game back after a 335-day absence, coming off of a torn ACL and snaps a 6-game losing streak for the Arizona Cardinals. Again, talent matters. That kid he might not be the most disciplined quarterback, but his talent is off the charts, and he just wins. I mean, there's a reason why he's won more games in Texas high school football than any other human has ever lived. Like, he just wins.
Yeah, so. And that Colorado State kid, the tight end McBride, had a huge day, 131 yards on 8 catches. Budda Baker's now back and healthy for the Cardinals. I mean, the Cardinals are, they've got some interesting players. You always got to kind of keep tabs on them. B.J. Ojulari is starting to emerge there. He had a couple sacks. Budda Baker and Kazir White combined for 21 tackles. Yeah, I mean, and Kyler, say what you want. I mean, He's a force as a runner. He had 6 carries for 33 yards and a touchdown. He had a 13-yard run. He threw for 250. You know, I'm kind of a Kyler fan. I know he's not quite gotten to the point where people trust him and there's more development there, but he's not a bad quarterback.
Josh Dobbs is not a bad quarterback, and the respect should be real. Like the Vikings beat the Saints. They have now won 2 in a row. Where does it go? I don't know, but Dobbs is better than anyone thought. The Steelers,
he's a genius. He's super smart. He's very athletic. I mean, look how quickly he learned their system. He gives you something as a runner. He's nice. I mean, he's a really. I think he was a aeronautical engineering major or something like that at Tennessee. I mean, he's super bright. He's super athletic. He hasn't played tons of quarterback, but the year he's had this year is impressive.
He is won in nearly unwinnable situations. Meet the Cardinals, win a game.
How about this? I think
no practice, win games.
I think my takeaway in that game was that I think Jameis Winston might be the guy the Saints ought to go with over Derek Carr. I mean, Derek Carr is so captain check down at this point. I'd almost rather. I think they might be better off going with Jameis.
CJ Stroud is the real deal, Larry.
Oh my God! Yeah,
the Texans beat the Bengals in one of the games yesterday that really upset a lot of survival pools. I bet that no one really expected that, and you got to give D'Amico an awful lot of credit for the way that he has put this, rookie quarterback in winnable situation after winnable situations. It's like I don't want to say dumbed down. That's he has streamlined the playbook to accentuate what Stroud is comfortable with. And when you got a first-year coach doing that's a good sign. The Texans are a lot better this year than they were last year and got to feel great about their future with CJ Stroud, who's a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, and they've got some pretty good offensive line play there going right now. The Bengals only got 1 sack all day. They only had 4 hits on the quarterback. I mean, they do a great job of protecting Stroud. Singletary ran for 150 in this game. Devin Singletary's now reemerged in Houston. They didn't even have Nico Collins. He was out, but they drafted this kid Tank Dell out of Houston, who's just, big play guy. And he had 6 catches for 56 yards. He got in the end zone. And then defensively, they've made a lot of good calls. I mean, D'Amico's a really good coach, but I mean, going and bringing in Sheldon Rankins had 3 sacks yesterday and 4 hits on the quarterback on Joe Burrow. So, they hit with the kid out of Alabama in the top of the first round. They hit with Stroud. They hit on Rankins. I mean, they've got some nice pieces there. They've got 2 pretty good tackles. They've got some good weapons. Houston's going to be a playoff team in the AFC, and as Stroud continues to play this way, they're going to be a force. They might be able to pull an upset in the AFC playoffs.
Larry, the Lions are 7-3. The Chargers lose yet another 1 possession home game. It's like it's the same movie every weekend for the LA Chargers. But let me just set up who the Lions are, how they've started, and where it probably goes here. The Lions are probably the 1st or 2nd seed in the NFC, just based on the fact that they're already 7-3. They're riding a 2-game winning streak right now. And their next games they just got a lot of winnable in front of them, even though this is a tough league and you never just assume you're going to beat anybody. But the next opponents for the 7-3 Lions are the Bears, the Packers, at the Saints, at the Bears, Broncos, at Vikings. They could easily go 4-2 in that 6-game stretch. They could go 5-1 in that.
The road to the Super Bowl could roll through Detroit this year.
It could. It really
absolutely could. Jared Goff's playing great. Yeah. And they've got 2 backs that are really good, and David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. They have the best young offensive line in the game right now. They got a true number 1 receiver in Amon-Ra St. Brown. I don't think it's their year because they don't rush. Their defense has lost a lot. They lost Emmanuel Mosley for a year. They didn't get any sacks yesterday. Even Aiden Hutchinson's like a 1-man gang on their defensive line. But they're coming. They're coming. I think they're a year away from being. If they have another great draft, they're probably a year away from being the team in the NFC to look for in the future.
The Seahawks are a quiet 6-3, but the Seahawks are about to hit the single hardest 5-game stretch I think anyone has in football all year, Larry. The Seahawks do. They got the Rams coming off of a bye week coming up on Sunday. Then it's the 49ers on Thanksgiving. Then they're at Dallas, then at the 49ers, and then they play the Eagles. Like, that's a brutal 5-game stretch. The Seahawks are 6-3. There's a very good chance that they're 6-8 after this 5-game stretch. It's savage. Again, Rams off a bye, 49ers at Dallas, at 49ers, Eagles. You can't find a harder 5-game stretch.
Yeah. I mean, Seattle's got some good players. Devin Witherspoon, I think, is as good a rookie corner as I've seen in a long time. He's just fantastic. But they added Leonard Williams and Frank Clark to their front line, but I don't think they're good enough on the on the defensive line. And Geno, I don't really believe in Geno in crunch time. And then they at the end of the day, it's like Seattle the last couple of years hasn't done a great job stopping the run. They gave up almost 5 yards a carry to the Commanders yesterday. Jackson Smith, the rookie receiver, has been just okay. So, I mean, I don't know. I think that you can throw like against Seattle. I think the Niners are going to have a field day throwing to McCaffrey. Brian Robinson, the Commanders running back yesterday, caught 6 balls on 6 targets for 119 yards and a touchdown. Antonio Gibson, their other back, 5 catches on 6 targets. So they threw 11 passes to 12 passes to their running backs and completed 11 for 150 plus yards and 2 touchdowns. I think the Niners are going to be able to throw it to their backs all day.